Hi, I'm Riley,
And I'm Katie, and welcome to Ideal Podcast.
where we talk about the ideal and not so ideal moments going from girlhood to womanhood.
Hi, everyone. We are back with another episode, and today we are interviewing Malachi Smith. He is a professional basketball player for the Wisconsin Herd of the NBA G League. He played college basketball for the Wright State Raiders, Chattanooga Mocs, and the Gonzaga Bulldogs. He just finished his rookie year in the NBA G League, and we had the honor to have a conversation with him about his career journey, the role that his mom played in his life, relationships, friendships, and what the future holds for him. It was such a good conversation, and I think one of the things that I honestly really enjoyed in the conversation is how faith is like the center of his life. I feel like when you are famous or, rising in fame, it's easy to get lost, but he seems so centered and so set on who he is and where he's going. So I'm really excited for you guys to hear this conversation and get to know a little bit about Malachi.
Katie, I don't know if I've told you how we've met, but we'll just do it for the recording too. But so we both went to UTC, and you were playing basketball there. I was just working at the local gym, and you had to get hours or something, so you had to come work.
So I couldn't get my degree until I got like a certain amount of hours for for the internship. And so where she was working at, that's where I was doing my internship at. But we got so close because like throughout the semester, you're supposed to like get hours and stuff. But like that semester, like we were winning and like making like tournaments and stuff. So I was like, I'm not finna like I don't have time. So like, I was kind of like pushing it off. So I had like a F in the class, and he was like, you can't. And they literally were like, you're not gonna be able to graduate because of this one class. So I was like, no way. So I was able to like talk him into like, hey, like, will you let me, make up the hours I missed during the season? He was like, yeah. So like I had to catch up. I had to work every day. So like every day I was in there, like I just met her and like she was just helping me around and stuff.
And what's so cool is, I think we both transferred out of UTC at the same time, and you went to Gonzaga first, and then I went also to West Coast, California. And it was super cool because Gonzaga played Pepperdine, and so I got to see him, and it was kind of like this full circle moment of like we both left and got to meet back up, and so that was super cool. So that's how I know Malachi. So you can kind of explain a little bit, maybe just explain what you're doing right now, and just give like a kind of general background first, and then we'll get into some questions.
So like right now, I just finished my rookie year in the NBA / like NBA G League. And right now, like in the off season, I'm just like training. I took some time off to like rest my body, but I'm just training. And I'm like technically like a free agent. So just kind of waiting to see like what the next step is going to be for me is like deciding, what team has interest in me or like mutual interest to where like I can play for them this season. So that's kind of where I'm at right now. I started my season with Portland, and then I finished my season with Milwaukee. So I, went through that process this year. So like right now it's just deciding like, do we go back or do we continue, try to find like the next, like the next phase of this journey, I guess.
So we'll kind of dive into the first question in sort of career-wise, but you kind of talk about your upbringing and if basketball was always the plan, if that was always something that you wanted to do, and kind of how you got the ball rolling, so to speak.
So football was like my most like primary sport growing up. Um, just, I think one day like one of my friends that I played football with, it was basketball season. So like I didn't play anything. And he was like having surgery. So they're like, yo, we need like a player to like fill in. So they had called my mom and was like, hey, like we know someone that's not doing nothing, he can fill in. But like I knew nothing about basketball. Like I was like I treated it like football. Like I just wanted to hit people. So like I was like I was like their like extra sub, you know what I'm saying? And that's kind of like how I got like, kind of like introduced to basketball. But what made me want to get better was like I saw all my, you know, everybody on the court doing stuff that I couldn't do. And like that's how
Mhm.
I was wired growing up. Like I always wanted to do what like someone else was doing. So like I was like, dang, I can't dribble like that. I can't shoot like that. I want to keep playing. So then from that point on, like they would just like periodically ask me to like come play. And this is like little, I'm talking about like, like elementary school, you know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
But I would just keep like periodically like playing. And then once I got to middle school, I was like, okay, like I'm gonna try to like take this, kind of serious. And, you know, obviously going up to high school, it was like, all right, like I don't my mom paying for college. Like this is how I'm gonna help my mom pay for college, getting a scholarship. So then I just kept
Mhm.
basketball, I made basketball the priority.
In your career and education kind of journey, you've had to transfer to a lot of different schools. So, what was that experience like for you? Is it easy to kind of jump around different schools, or was it hard to adapt? Just tell us a little bit about that.
After my freshman year of college, my major, they didn't even have my major. So like I was just doing school, just because. But I didn't want to transfer, but just for my basketball career to excel, I had to make a different transition. So when I was at Chattanooga, they had my major, but also like me, I had the red shirt, so like I didn't play for a whole year. So I was able to like double up like my workload and stuff to kind of like, might as well like get ahead a little bit because I don't have any responsibility with basketball and stuff. So like the transition wasn't, too difficult. And then when I went to Gonzaga, I already got my bachelor's degree. So now I'm just working on my master's. So that kind
Mhm.
of was like an easy transition. So it was just like, okay, you're in a different program now. I would say just juggling sports and basketball, like it was hard. Like there was days like it was hard. Like I'm the type like I have to study. Like I can't just not study and get a good grade. Like I have to work super hard to get good grades. And I was struggling at a certain point of like I was playing so well, but like that was because I was putting in so much work in the gym. But it was like, okay, like how do I keep my grade? Like how do I have that much time to be in the gym, but also like study and stuff? So then that's
Yeah.
where I learned how to like plan and like organize and like
Mm.
like like make it like be more organized because I would kind of just wake up and just do this and do that without having like a plan. So then I look up, it's
Mhm.
10 o'clock at night, so.
Is that like a common thing for basketball players in college to juggle the school and the sports?
I mean, I would just say like from like my experience, like yeah, it is. Now there's obviously some players who are like, oh, I know I want to be like a doctor or a lawyer or like a specific field. But if it's kind of like, oh, I'm not really sure what I want to do yet, it's kind of like, okay, so as you're trying to figure out what you're passionate about off the court or off the field, but you still are like, man, I want this to be successful and work out as well. So like, there's times where like sports might get the best of or
Mhm.
most of the time. So then you might see your grades slip a little bit. So now you're like, okay, now I have to like lock back in. But like one thing that like Chattanooga did really good was like they gave us a lot of tutors and like they always, we had like mandatory study halls and stuff. So like, the teams and the schools will put in place ways to like make sure that like you're on top of it. Like we're kind of spoiled. And like one thing my coach at Chattanooga would say is like this is the only time in your life where like you have everything at your disposal. Because
Mhm.
like when you're older, if you want someone that give you a schedule, you have to pay them. If you
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
want, what I'm saying, like someone
Yep.
that
Mm-hmm.
do like your lawn, like, what I'm saying. So like I was just like we was just like so okay, like take advantage of that because like we don't just have that, what I'm saying, in the real
Mm-hmm.
world.
I know you talked a little bit about kind of the struggle to manage both school and basketball. Was there any point in your kind of your current basketball career where you wanted to give up or you almost gave up or, just anything to that extent?
Yes, absolutely. So my freshman year, I was about to quit and go to the military. Yeah. So my mom was in the military. She was in the military for about 14, 15 years. When I wasn't playing, it was like super frustrating. So now I'm like, okay, I'm over here doing homework and all this stuff, and I'm not playing. So like, I was just like crying every night. And I was like, man, I'm done with this. Like, so I was about to, I was planning on quitting and going to the military. But my mom was just like, no, like, you're not doing that. Stop playing the victim. So I fought through that. So that was a moment when I wanted to quit. But my last year at Chattanooga, I knew I couldn't quit, but man, when I tell you I wanted to give up on stats so bad, like that's had me like, and it was a Zoom, so like we're not in person, and like I was so behind, like I couldn't understand anything, like, and I was just like, man, I can't get this. Like I felt like an idiot, you know. So that was like I was just like, if there was any way I could have like got out of that class, I promise I would have done it. Like whatever, like I don't know, I would have went to extreme measures to not have to deal with that.
Yeah, I think a lot of us have been there. How do you think you deal with a lot of the discouragement that you faced either in the past or the present?
I try to surround myself with people that are encouraging. You know, I've been working on like speaking life in the situation. So like instead of speaking negative and just piling on to already how I'm feeling emotionally, like I just try to turn on like some praise and worship songs or like just talk to someone that is in a better headspace than me, you know?
Mhm.
But I mean, it's obviously easier said than done. There's still times where I'm just like, bro, like, like F this. I can't do this. This is pointless. But I
Mhm.
kind of just try to look back and remember, like, okay, like, look how far you came. So it's like, what would be the point of like stopping now? And you just did all that work, to get here. So now you're going to stop. So then it's like, what was the point? You should have stopped at the very beginning. That's kind of like how I view it when I am discouraged. It's like, okay, like, well, what's the alternative? Like going back, then it's like, then what was the point of doing all this? You know what I'm saying?
No, I think it's so easy to let yourself succumb to the negativity, and sometimes it can be hard to find those people that are encouraging and get out of that headspace, and so I think that that's great advice.
You're always gonna be like tough on yourself, but like what I like to say is like life is already hard as it is. You're already carrying like this heavy burden. Like don't add more weight to the burden. You know what I'm saying? Because now you're like
Mhm.
hurting
Yeah.
yourself.
And you kind of mentioned this already, but it's very evident that faith plays a big role in your life. So how would you say faith fits into basketball for you?
Obviously, like whenever, because basketball is a lot of things go into like where you can't control. So, you can't control whether how much you play or if a coach likes you or if you get a scholarship or you get an opportunity and stuff, but you can control like how hard you work, when you're on the court, how hard you play, stuff like that. And there's a lot of verses in the Bible that talk about like not worrying about tomorrow, trusting him, you know, not being anxious about anything, so it's like, okay, well, the world like is saying like, hey, like, like you're not like, when is this gonna happen? When is that gonna happen? But like in the Bible, it's saying like, don't worry about that. You know what I'm saying? Like I got that taken care of already. That's how those apply. You know what I'm saying? And then obviously, mentally, if you're struggling or you're having a bad game or you're like nervous, like you can just remember that like, okay, like I'm, God's with me. Obviously like protecting me from injuries and stuff like that too.
Moving on to like a different note, do you have a pregame routine that you do every time? Like, are you one of those types of players that they're like, oh, I have to wear this lucky pair of socks? Like, what's any pregame routine that you have?
I like to say I do, but I really don't. So like I do have like a certain way like I play my songs. So like
Mhm.
when I get off the bus, I play a certain song. And then like when I'm on the court, like when I'm on the court warming up, like I play a certain song. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
I have that down pat. Now like obviously like certain socks and all that stuff, no. Now if I have a good game doing something, I'll do that again until like I have a bad game. Then like I'll be like, all right, let's switch it up. You know what I'm saying? There was a point in time where like in college, I like folded my like one day like I just folded my sock a certain way. Like I just folded them a certain way. And I was playing like really, really good. So like the next game, like I didn't have my socks folded that way and like I couldn't make a shot. So at halftime, I looked at my socks. I was like, let's just try that. So I folded it back and like the second half, I did so good. And then I was like, all right, we're folding our socks like that. You know what I'm saying? So like, and it's all a mind game. Like at halftime, if I don't play well, I change my shoes. You know what I'm saying? Like I always change my shoes at halftime if like I'm not playing well, which is like bad because it's like it's not the shoes. But
Mhm.
I would say like stuff like that, like superstitious. But like pregame is always just like, I don't like to eat a lot, so I kind of eat like a little bit, but like I always want to get like a 20-minute nap or something. But not like no longer than like 20, because then like I get into like a deep sleep, you know what I'm saying? But it's really like the music. That's like more of like my routine.
Riley told me a little bit about how your mom played such a big role in just who you are today. And so we wanted to kind of give you some space to maybe talk a little bit about her and how has your mom set you up for your success, for where you're at in life right now?
Anyone that like knows me like knows how close me and my mom are. There's like a lot of stories online about me and my mom, just from like past people interviewing us and stuff. But like what I would say first, like she had me at a young age. I think she had me like she had me at like 19 or 20, maybe 21, but one of those three. And obviously that's not easy, you know what I'm saying? Like at that time. And, she didn't have her degree, so she went to the military. And then so like what I remember growing up was that like she did whatever it took to make sure there was food on the table, clothes on my back. You know what I'm saying? And there were so many things when I was young that she made happen that now I'm like, I don't know how she did that. Like that it didn't like it doesn't I can't comprehend how she made that happen, you know? Just about her, like, I call her like a superhero because like the things she did and made happen, like I feel like I would have quit if that was me. You know what I'm saying? Like being a single parent. And, obviously my dad was in the picture. Like, I had a relationship with my dad. But for the most part, it was just okay, like I was being raised by her. She was super strong, super demanding, just like Malachi, like demanding like excellence in everything. You know what I'm saying? When you
Mm-hmm.
put your clothes on, make sure they're ironed. When you see someone, make sure you're respectful. Yes, ma'am, no ma'am, yes, sir, no, sir. And just all like the little stuff that will set me up down the line. You know what I'm saying? When I'm on my own in college, when I'm trying to network and meet people, or when I'm in a certain space, how to handle myself and handle my own in those environments. I would say that's like the biggest thing. Obviously there was rough times, you know what I'm saying? Because as a teenager growing up, you're like, why can't I do this? Why can't I do that? But she was protecting me from what I couldn't see, kind of like how God is. Sometimes God says no to stuff and we're like, why? Or like we're trying to figure out why this didn't happen, but it's like you can't see around that corner. So growing up, I'm like, Mom, why you won't let me be around that person? Or why can't I go there? And she was like, don't worry about it. And then now I'm like, man, I'm glad she didn't. Because if she
Yeah.
did, who knows where I would be or what would have happened. I always say like you want people that tell you what you need to hear and not what you want to hear. And obviously as
Mm-hmm.
my mom, she's gonna tell me that. But like that's what I look for in my friends too. You know what I'm saying? So like
You talked a little bit about your childhood. Was there anything that jumps out to you that you specifically went through that kind of shaped who you are today?
when I was little, actually not almost yeah, just like middle school, growing up, like everyone was always telling me like what I couldn't do or like what I was dreaming about happening wouldn't happen. So like I remember one time I was in elementary school. So obviously, hey, what are your goals? Write down your dreams. And I'm saying I want to be an NBA player. And they're like, oh, like, be more realistic. The teacher's like, no, like you can't put that down. You gotta put down something that's more realistic or something else. And that just really hurt me. So I told my mom, and my mom was like, look, you ain't finna tell my son what he can't do. So your job, you know what I'm saying? Like your job is to teach. And my mom always had my back. Like, I had this art teacher one time. She was like super mean. Like she always kicked me out of class, but like never had a reason why. She always I can't even tell you to this day what it was. So my mom made it very clear at open house. If Malachi's the issue, you email me because I'll take care of it. So my mom's whole thing is like, if he's this bad, how come you haven't emailed me? So my mom, and this is at this time, like she couldn't afford missing work, but she came to school and sat in class with me and was like, and sat in the back of the class. The teacher didn't say a word to me. And at the end of the class, everyone came up to my mom and was like, Miss Connie, I swear, like this is the first time she's never said anything to Malachi. Like she always talks to Malachi. And my mom was like, yeah, because I was there. I just remember like my mom, like she would always go to bat for me. Like she was like, look, bro, we ride or die. We in this together. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like they mess with you, they messing with me.
Yeah, no, it's really cool that your mom can be someone that is kind of like your partner in crime that always has your back and is just kind of a great support system for you.
Yeah, well, a lot of people don't know is like in like this story you can find online. But like a lot of people don't know, like we had a little point in time where we didn't speak to each other because when I was struggling with basketball in college, and I wanted to quit, she was just like, literally, like when I called, I was like, I want to quit. Like, I can't take this. She said, "Are you perfect?" And I was like, "No." She said, "Well, then be perfect and then call me back." And I was like,
Mm.
and then she like hung up on me. And I was like, there's no way this woman loves me. Like, why would she just, and she was like, "Malachi, if you're going to call and complain, don't call me." And I was like, fine, I ain't going to call you at all. And like, obviously she would do like little check-ins like, "Hey, good luck tonight." But like, as in like speaking and like, "Oh, hey, what you doing?" Or, "Hey, how's," we didn't speak for like at least like a month and a half,
Mhm.
2 months. That was because I felt like she didn't love me. And, I didn't know this, but she ended up telling someone like that was interviewing her, she was like, that was like those like the hardest days of my life because I wanted to like be there and coddle him. But I knew that at 18, that's not what he needed. Because when I was 19, 20, having Malachi, wasn't nobody coddling me. They were saying, kind of, you got to figure it out. Wasn't no one
Mhm.
coming up to her saying, here's a $50,000 check, here's $10,000 to help take. It wasn't that. They was like, well, you have a kid in the world. What are you going to do? You know what I'm saying? Like, you're going to take care of him or you're going to give him up for adoption, whatever. And my mom was like, okay. So what she was showing me at the time that I didn't realize was whenever you're going through something, you'll find a way to get through it. And when you find a way to get through it, you'll be more proud of yourself for like solving it on your own. It's kind of like if there's like a problem you're struggling with, instead of having someone give you the answer, there's something about going through that grind of finally figuring the answer out, and then you look at yourself like, dang, I accomplished that. Like,
I feel like as we grow up, there's kind of that point in our lives where we kind of have to do it on our own, figure it out on our own, and that's how we get stronger and build our character. So I love that story. I think it's very powerful and something that all of us have to really go through, you know.
if they just gave us the answers to everything, like we wouldn't, when we finally get to a point where we go through it, we would never like be able to look back and say, "Oh, I accomplished that." You know what I'm saying? Or like say, like, you wouldn't know what to do. You would just be relying on them the whole time. And like, there comes a point where like they can't solve everything for us. You know what I'm saying?
And with growing up, I feel like with school and career, we get very busy, and I feel like that's when friendships start to, it gets harder to navigate friendships. And so with transferring to different schools and doing basketball, how did you navigate friendships? What was that like for you?
We moved a lot growing up with my mom being in the military, so I didn't have a lot of friends. Or like if I had a friend, well, I was moving in 3 months, so this is before like Instagram and stuff. So like I might have like their kick or something, but like I mean that might, or we might Uvu. But y'all remember Uvu? Yeah, like the Uvu days.
Oh my
But like
gosh.
But like, I think for me, basketball really helped get friendships because I'm like, okay, we both love basketball. I'm around you 24/7. So like that built a lot of friendships. But I think for me, it was just I wanted friends that like I said, would tell me what I need to hear, not what I want to hear. But also that like, sports wasn't like their only thing. Because then like if it was like competitive, like one might get jealous and stuff. I think it's just like friendships are like trial and error. Like I'm pretty sure there's people that you thought were your friend, you're like, okay, they're not my friend. Or they were your friend, but then they started moving a certain way, and you're like, okay, that's not the direction I want to go towards. So I think for me, it was like, okay, like I'm gonna attract what I'm trying to get to, you know what I'm saying? And then also surround myself with people that think like me or I'm, in the same space. You know what I'm saying? If that makes sense. That's kind of how like I sorted it out. Obviously I met a lot of people. I had access to a lot of people. Like basketball would make you, you're the cool kid and everybody wanted to hang out. But I wasn't like the partier and stuff like that because like I was like a late bloomer in basketball. Like I wasn't just always good. So then now all of a sudden I'm good at basketball. All these same people that didn't even know I existed or pay attention to me now all of a sudden like they want to hang. I was like, nah. You know that saying like back then you ain't want me. Now I'm hot, you all want me. Like, watch out, yo.
Yeah.
So I just stayed loyal to my friends that I had, that was cool with me before. Like, don't try to come sit at my lunch table now. Like, watch out. Like I'm cool.
So you kind of mentioned competition just very briefly. Did you have to deal with a lot of that between some of your close friends?
I mean, yeah, there were some friends that like they'd be like, "Oh, like, did this coach call you?" I'd be like, "Yeah." They'd be like, "Oh, all right." You know what I'm saying? Or like they got something, I would congratulate them, but when it was my turn, they wouldn't congratulate me, or they would like hate on me, or like be
Mm-hmm.
negative. I can't stand people who are negative. Like if you're negative, just get away from me. And like there would be times with like some people that I was cool with at the time. I would say, "Oh man, look, I got this." They'd be like, "Oh, well, that's not legit. That's fake." Or it's like they send that to everybody to like downplay. I'm like, "All right,
Mm-hmm.
bro." You know what I'm saying? Like you can't even just let me have my moment. You know? So
Yeah.
that was the thing. And there's people I'm still friends with now, but there was moments where it was like we're both trying to get like a scholarship, and I might have got one, and he didn't. So it would be like, all right, cool. But then when he got one, I'd be like, man, congrats. And then like it would be all cool. You know what I'm saying? But like, and I think growing up, there's a little bit of that. If your friend is, getting something and you're not, you're like, dang, like when's it gonna be my turn? So I wouldn't say like they're like jealous. It was just kind of like, all right, like cool, but like, dang, I wish it was me.
I feel like that's relatable even for us. I feel like Riley and I have talked about kind of competition and all of that on our podcast before, so very relatable. Um, Tell us a little bit about what it's like leaving a team you've built relationships in to go play for another. Is it hard, or did you just like adapt to it?
It is hard, but there's a period where it is, but then like it gets easier. So like transferring from Chattanooga to Gonzaga, I'm joining a team that's always ranked top 5, top 10 every single year. So now you're adding a player who was really good at his school, but guess what? Everybody at this school is really good. So it's like, all right, well, like you're not gonna do at Chattanooga what you did here. You know what I'm saying? Because all of us are just as good as you. So it was like that was like a little bit of a period, but we were able to like, it wasn't any like bad blood. It was just like, okay, you have to learn how to fit in and stuff with each other. And then like this season, going from Portland to Milwaukee in the middle of the season, I had been in Portland for like 5, 6 months, I think. So I had known everybody. I'd been around the coaching staff, all that. So now in the middle of the season, I'm going to this new staff and these new players, and I knew some of them, but it was like, okay, what's up, bro? Like, what up? But they don't know how I play. They don't know my tendencies. So like it gets hard in those times because like you just want to feel like you just want to feel like a part of the team. You might not act how you usually act because you don't know how they're gonna respond or take that. Maybe if I'm used to like coaching and like being like a leader, but this team already has leaders. So now, okay, well, what else can I bring to the table? You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So it is difficult, but I think just the common goal is to win. So as long as like when they see that, oh, he's trying to win, he's a good guy, like, and you hang out off the court. Oh, you like playing video games? Oh, me too. Like we all love playing Uno. So it's like, I bet we often play Uno. And then you know what I'm saying? Then you just get cool. And then you might know someone that knows someone. And it's like, oh snap, I know him. Like I went to school with his brother, and then it kind of eases up a little bit.
Yeah, no, that's cool. I think the transfer experience, just all across the board, not just in sports, can be really daunting and challenging. And I think it takes a special kind of person to not only adapt in those situations, but to be able to make new friendships and grow and things like that. So for you to have good experiences on that front is awesome. So, where do you see yourself in the next few years? Like, end goal, big picture.
I see myself still playing professional basketball. I want to say like would have a family, but you can't really plan that stuff. But I mean that would be nice. Obviously, just successful, still growing. I want to be able to like I want to have my hands on a whole bunch of stuff where like I'm giving back to my community, but like giving back to other people, like just like stuff like that where like, I'm helping. Like I want to just like how can like try to help as many people as possible within my power, but obviously still playing basketball, still being healthy, being successful, just having my hand in like a lot of different things, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to ask one question, Katie, before you continue.
And I want to have you
Um,
on I want to have a podcast so I can have you on my podcast.
no, that would be fun. That would be really cool. You mentioned about starting a family. I'm curious. We didn't have this question written down, so if you don't want to answer it, that's fine. Um, but how is the dating scene as someone who's constantly moving around, always playing basketball, juggling all of these different things? What has the dating life been like?
I mean, it's kind of hard because like, you know, when you meet someone, it's like, oh, I'm not there. So like you now you're doing distance, but so like there has to be like a trust factor there. So like, then some people aren't comfortable with distance. So like, just for example, like I didn't have a girlfriend, but like, what if I had a girlfriend in Portland and I was there for 6 months, so we've been together for 6 months, then I get traded. So then now we go from being close to each other for 6 months to all of a sudden being across halfway across the US. So it's like, how does that change the relationship? How does that change how much I see them? Now, obviously, if they work remote, cool, it's a little easier. What if I have a job where they don't work remote and I can only see you a couple weekends out the month? Like, so it can be very difficult because you can meet someone in a city or meet someone that's not in your city and you build something, but it's like, okay, well, I'm always moving. Like you said, we're always moving, we're always traveling, we're always on the road. So it's like, how are we getting that, one on one, like close time together to actually like build, a foundation, obviously you
Mm-hmm.
can build a connection through FaceTime and text, but like to really get to know someone, you have to be around them consistently, like seeing what they like, what they don't like, their tendencies, instead of asking you, how do you respond in conflict? We have to be in conflict to see, you know what I'm saying? So
Mm-hmm.
it can be difficult. I try to be positive
Yeah.
about it. Just like I say like, oh, how about meet someone in my city? But it's like, okay, well, what if I get traded or I sign with a different team in 2 years? Like,
Have you had the issue of some girls reaching out to you or trying to get with you for your name or the clout, anything like that?
I mean, there's like, girls, I guess, like athletes, so that might be their type. But like, I mean, yeah, there's cases where it's like, like after a game, a girl might say, hey, I just saw you play. You want to hang out? Or they'll ask like our team, like, hey, like what y'all doing tonight? You know what I'm saying? That stuff like that. I don't want to just like accuse people of doing that, but I mean,
Sure.
obviously you see it. So I mean, it is a thing. You know what I'm saying? It is a thing.
Mm-hmm.
But like, I'm not like the biggest, baddest name out there. So my thing is, I'll just say this: you can tell if someone's being like genuine or someone's intentions are different. It's not
Yeah.
hard to tell. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Like
Yeah.
you guys know if a guy is taking you seriously or if a guy is just reaching out. You know what I'm saying? You can tell the difference.
Kind of on the topic of your future, um, in what ways are you preparing for the future? Whether that's your career, your personal life, maybe even relationships. Tell us a little bit about that.
So obviously, like basketball, I'm still training every day, still working out. Honestly, like controlling what I can control on that aspect. I can control how much work I put in, the things I do off the court, take care of my body. And I think the rest will take care of itself. Set myself up, like I said, trying to like read more. The thing that basketball has done for me is gave me access to a lot of people. So talking to those people that have been in my shoes. I'm like, oh, so like, how did you get into that business or how did you get into those investments? Like, who did you talk to? Who helped you find that passion? You know what I'm saying? Like, so now I'm doing the things like, okay, like, how can I set myself up 10 years from now, 15 years, 20 years from now to where like, oh, this is making me money on the side. And then, I mean, relationship wise, I think what I've had to learn is I have to look at myself in the mirror. I think like I was expecting stuff from girls, but like I wasn't looking at myself and being like, can you do everything that a girl needs? So, and
Mm.
sometimes I'll be like, you're right, I can't because basketball, you know what I'm saying? Like it's hard for me to give you all the attention you deserve when I'm trying to chase my dream. You know what I'm saying? And not like they're making me pick between them, but it's like, I'm not even going to lie. There's days I don't like talking or I don't want to talk. So, but that's not fair to you. You didn't do anything to me. So
Mm-hmm.
now I'm not going to talk to you for 2 days just because like I had a bad game. That's not fair that's not fair to them. So like, trying to, make sure that like if I am looking for someone or if I am talking to someone that I'm able to it's like a two-way street. I'm not asking them stuff that I can't do.
So I guess to close, what is your next move? What are you doing next? Whether it's next week or next month or, the next 6 months.
Well, we're always going to pray. We're always going to stay positive. Um, Trying to think like, honestly, I don't try to look too far ahead because like then I miss out in the present. So, but what I'm trying to do, I'm just trying to progress and get better every day. You know what I'm saying? The things I struggle
Mm-hmm.
with, the areas that I'm lacking in. Okay, Malachi, what can you do to be better in that area? You know what I'm saying? Like I'm trying to cut
Yeah.
out the sweet. I gotta cut out the sweets. You know what I'm saying? So like, how do I go to a restaurant and not ask for the dessert menu? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. It's hard to resist a good sweet treat. That's difficult. but to work on yourself is great. But thank you so much for taking the time to chat with us and hang
No, I
out.
appreciate you guys. Kay, I know I'm just meeting you, but like super proud of you and, you know, glad that, you're able to be in this space and I just hope that and pray that it continues to grow to whatever vision you guys had for this, starting it, you know. If y'all got any helpful podcast names that you think would work, let me know because I want to start a podcast, but I can't think of a name. So
Yeah.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Ideal Podcast. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to give us a rating on Spotify or subscribe to us on YouTube and follow us on Instagram.